Here's the thing nobody saw coming. 6 months ago, Washington was bracing for a showdown with New Delhi. Trade wars were on the drawing board. Sanctions, tough ones, were being lined up. Folks in Trump's circle were talking tough, direct. India had to pick America's side or risk being left behind. It looked like a fight was inevitable. But look at where we are now. The very people preparing to punish India are suddenly talking about partnership. Big business is back on the table. And after months without a top diplomat in India, Washington rushed someone senior over to New Delhi. This isn't a tweak, it's a reversal, a flip in strategy. So what caused this? What made America's leaders drop the stick and try the carrot? Here's the twist: India didn't change a thing. New Delhi is still buying low-cost energy from Russia, still blocking American goods with high tariffs, still playing all sides without pledging allegiance to anyone. India stayed the course. The change came from Washington, and when the world's most powerful nation changes course this fast, it's not because they got generous. It's because they saw their first plan fail, and fail hard. That failure was creating bigger problems than they expected. And that's what we're digging into today. Why America blinked first. Why India holds more power than people realize, and why this shift could rewrite the rules of global politics. Let's roll back to where this all started. When Trump returned to power, everyone knew what was coming. America First was back, and back loud. For countries like India, that meant a simple equation: do what we say or pay a price. And that price hit early. New tariffs on Indian goods headed for U.S. markets. 25% extra on steel, textiles, chemicals, industries gutted overnight. Profits erased, jobs gone. Entire sectors suddenly locked out of America's market. And that was just round one. Then came the real squeeze, going after India's oil. Another 25% tax on Russian oil India relied on. This wasn't just dollars and cents anymore. This was survival. India buys most of its oil abroad. Russian crude, discounted by war, kept fuel affordable for over 1 billion citizens. Take that away and prices skyrocket. Trump's logic was blunt: stop buying Russian oil, stop funding Moscow's war, join us now. But for India, that meant hurting their own people for someone else's fight. Why should everyday Indians pay more at the pump to make Washington feel better? And here's where things went off the rails. While America was turning up the heat, no one of rank was even in New Delhi to talk. No ambassador for months. No senior diplomat on hand to manage the fallout. Imagine that. Launching an economic offensive against one of the biggest nations on earth, but leaving the embassy on autopilot. While Washington sat out, others jumped in. Beijing sent its top brass for talks. Moscow kept signing energy deals. Big regional summits took shape with India seated beside China and Russia, not America. While the U.S. stayed absent, everyone else showed up. The real blunder wasn't the tariffs. It wasn't the threats. It was the assumption that India would fold, that economic pressure would bring them in line, that New Delhi had no cards to play. That thinking, flat out wrong. Then the tone shifted fast. The harsh words out of Washington softened. Demands turned into proposals. Threats became invitations to cooperate. So what happened? A few big moments collided at once. First, Trump met Putin in Alaska, a stunning summit, one that rattled allies in Europe and set off alarms in D.C.'s foreign policy circles. But here's the key. After that, America eased up on India, like they realized they couldn't pick a fight with everyone at once. Second, India didn't break. After months of pressure, New Delhi stood firm, still buying Russian oil, still shielding domestic industries, still refusing to choose sides, and they didn't whisper it. They said it loud, confident, unmistakable. That told Washington India won't be bullied. Third, other powers kept circling in. China's foreign minister landed in New Delhi for heavyweight talks. Russia announced new energy tie-ups. Regional forums put India next to China and Russia. Sidelining the U.S. every day, America stayed on the sidelines. Competitors gained ground. The rhetoric in D.C. shifted. Gone were the angry lines about unfair trade. In came talk of collaboration, finding solutions. That's bureaucratic code for the old plan failed. Then the big signal, finally naming an ambassador to India, and not just any ambassador, Sergio Gore, a Trump confidant with Oval Office reach. That's not routine diplomacy, that's damage control. Why the rush? Because staying tough was starting to hurt. Every day without senior eyes and ears in New Delhi gave Beijing and Moscow room to move. Every sharp statement pushed India further away. And in today's geopolitical chessboard, losing India doesn't mean losing one friend. It means the entire Indo-Pacific balancing act collapses. Look at a map. America's strategy to contain China leans on partners across Asia. Japan and Australia are locked in, but distant from where it all happens. India sits right in the heart of the Indian Ocean, a crossroads for half the world's shipping lanes. Without India, the whole design falls apart. Washington finally admitted what should have been obvious: you can't outmaneuver China without India in the equation. And you can't bring India in by threatening them. That's what makes this story so revealing. India's leverage here is enormous, and it's peaking. Think about it. Washington isn't softening because it wants to. It's softening because it has no choice. China's rising by the hour. Russia's digging in. Europe's distracted and split. And standing right in the middle of that storm is India, the fastest growing major economy, the largest population on the planet, a democracy that talks to everyone without being tied to anyone. That's real leverage. Let's unpack why India is holding so many cards. First, geography. India sits at the heart of critical trade routes. If you're moving goods between Asia, Africa, Europe, you're passing through India's neighborhood. That alone gives New Delhi a weight that can't be swapped out. Second, markets. U.S. companies are hunting for growth beyond their crowded home turf. Where's the big prize? India, with a middle class set to swell past $500 million. Tech, retail, defense, everybody wants in. Third, energy. India's a massive buyer. Today, Russian oil. Tomorrow, maybe American LNG. That's a bargaining chip worth hundreds of billions. Fourth, military. America's Indo-Pacific game plan depends on strong partners. Without India, that plan doesn't hold. India's Navy rules the Indian Ocean. Its army can stretch China from the south, while the U.S. applies pressure from the east. Without that two-front pressure, Beijing gets breathing room. Fifth, diplomacy. India's the rare power that can sit with the U.S., Japan, Australia one day, and with China and Russia the next, that bridge role. In a fractured world, priceless. What does that mean in practice? It means India shouldn't see Trump's softer tone as generosity. It's not charity. It's recognition that losing India is too costly. This is New Delhi's moment to lock in gains, lower tariffs, better tech transfers, more American investment, a partnership built on respect, not orders. And here's the twist. India isn't waiting for offers. They're playing offense. Deals with Japan on infrastructure, the Gulf on energy, Europe on tech, diversifying fast while Washington's still regrouping. That timing speaks volumes. Every fresh deal sends a message: we've got options. If you want us, make it worth our time. Look at defense. For years, America pitched weapons but held back the crown jewels. Now, India says, if you want us to pick you over Moscow, the tech has to move with the hardware. That's not surrender, that's negotiation. And it's reshaping Washington's posture. Because here's the hard truth finally sinking in: America needs India at least as much as India needs America, maybe more. And for the first time in decades, Washington's showing it knows. Let's talk numbers. India's the world's fifth largest economy, growing faster than any other big player. By 2027, likely third, leapfrogging Japan and Germany. Economic heft converts to political pull. But what jolted America awake was this: India's growth no longer hinges on the U.S. 20 years ago, cutting trade ties would have crippled them. Today, losing America hurts, but doesn't break them. China buys more. Europe buys plenty. The Gulf fuels them. India built a web that doesn't spin around Washington. Meanwhile, U.S. companies are lining up for access. Apple, Google, Amazon, Walmart, all betting big. And when corporate America leans in, Washington listens. India also studied China's playbook. When Washington squeezed Beijing with tariffs, China didn't cave. They diversified, absorbed the blows, kept growing. Eventually, America adjusted because pressure failed. India ran the same play. Hold steady, build options, that become too important to isolate. But India's advantage: democracy, shared values, no global ambitions to unseat America, just a demand to be treated fairly. And here's the kicker: America's China containment plan needs India in the lineup. China's Navy is expanding, building bases across the South China Sea and into the Indian Ocean. Washington needs local muscle to counter that. Japan handles the North, Australia the South, but India anchors the middle. When Trump's folks were hammering India over trade, they forgot the military math. When China's fleet surged and India hinted at tightening ties with Moscow, Pentagon alarms went off. Generals told the White House, we need